Within the yogic and Ayurvedic understanding of the human body, every single part of you functions not only on a physical or material level, but also on an energetic and emotional level. And it's in knowing those subtler functions alive within every single part of your body that you can actually work with the self-healing technology of your body more intentionally, more effectively. Why? So that it becomes possible, easy, and even obvious for you to self-repair and spiritually develop right amidst the everyday uncertainties and stresses of life. With this approach and perspective in mind, I wanted to dive deeper into the technology of your heart center. Your heart center, or Anahata Chakra, is the fourth psychic energy center going upwards from your root chakra. So if you were to draw a vertical line down the center of your body and a horizontal line across your chest, the intersection point would be the point of your heart center, located in the area between your lungs, just a little in front of your spinal cord, in proximity to your physical heart. And in the Upanishads, it's described as a tiny flame, the seat of perfect union between the divine masculine and divine feminine located within the heart. So, what is the function of this heart center? What insights and energetic streams of consciousness does your heart center hold? What does it metabolize for you? What virtues does it connect you with? And what greater force of intelligence can the heart center connect you to? What kind of life, love, and health are you able to actualize when you work with the technology of your heart center, when you live from the space of your heart center? And what simple practices or contemplations can help you get there? This is what I want to get into today. Before I do, I will say though, that even just the heart's more tangible and well-known functions, pumping blood and oxygen, or life force, you can think of it, through your body, delivering carbon dioxide back to the lungs for cleansing, circulating hormones and nutrients across your body as is needed, self-regulating based on changing conditions and more, this is already genius enough. Just take that in for a moment. What your heart does for you. The physical heart, we just take it for granted. But if you just take it in for a moment, you will agree that just the fact that your heart beats on its own, without you lifting a finger for it, is already enough cause for you to feel in complete awe and in complete wonder at the miracle of life. This aliveness that your heart just casually makes possible for you, just like that, day in and day out. Complete wonder and mystery. And so it should come to no surprise that your heart center, or the energy vortex of the heart center, located right next to this physical heart, holds a subtle technology equally as wondrous. This is well known as per the yogic system of chakras, which are, as I just mentioned, psychic or pranic vortexes that exist across your body. Each energetic vortex represents a specific state of consciousness, holding very specific codes, colors, symbols, frequencies really. Your vital life force, or prana shakti, for some better known as chi, flows through these vortexes, rising from animalistic and material desires and tendencies of the lower chakras up towards superhuman and spiritual desires and virtues of the higher chakras. The fourth center of human evolution, situated in the region of the heart, is Anahata Chakra, right at the midpoint between the lower three chakras, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and Manipura, and the major higher three chakras, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and Sahasra. So at its essence and positioning, it is the union point, or the turning point between the material and the spiritual, and between poorer energetic hygiene and immunity towards supercharged energetic hygiene and health. In Sanskrit, Anahata means the sound produced without touching two parts, or the sound produced without two parts touching. It is the unstruck sound, the primordial sound. It arises not from form, but from formlessness. What you need to know is that in Yogic and Ayurvedic philosophy, the first vibration to arise out of the vast nothingness and fullness that is God is a sound vibration. And from the seed sound, the whole world arises. The whole world and your body is essentially a materialization of sounds and vibration. The first is the sound arising out of nothingness. Pretty much all mystic traditions say this, but in different ways. This unstruck sound is Anahata Nada, and the Anahata Chakra is where it resides. According to Tantra, individual consciousness, your consciousness that is cosmic, limitless, and timeless, and this consciousness pervades all human beings. This rests in the heart center, or in Anahata Chakra, and reverberates within us as Anahata Nada, the unstruck sound. The Nada Bindu Upanishad teaches any spiritual seeker how to tune into the transcendent experience of the divine through tuning in and being absorbed by this primordial sound heard within the quiet depths of Anahata Chakra, your very own heart center. So you can really think of your heart center as your first access point to a field of cosmic love and intelligence, one that is calling for your deep listening. And so it is the heart center that holds the initial potentiality of your self-awareness. And by that I mean the awareness of yourself beyond just your ego, body, thoughts, possessions, and emotions. Those things are ever changing from moment to moment. And instead an awareness of self that is fixed onto an awareness of your divine, eternal, and witnessing self. The self that is connected to the all, that loves from a place of inner abundance and overflow, that knows love to be found in serving and connecting. This potentiality lives in your heart center. This is what enables your ability to make decisions outside the realm of karma, or the unending law of action and reaction. In Manipura Chakra, the energy vortex at the navel, and the two chakras below, your mind is bound by the laws of reaction, and it's guided by circumstances of the material realm, tethered to the physical and the gross, your bodily and animalistic and egoistic desires that can never really be satiated. Whereas when you are living from your heart center, once you have arrived into Anahata Chakra, gazing at life through this energy, or your life force is flowing freely through your heart center, you can make decisions connected to the awareness of your divine and eternal self. You are larger than just your body. Your sense of self can encompass others, encompass the entire planet. There is benevolence, forgiveness, and compassion. You are not enslaved by your arising and passing thoughts, and your desires are more and more guided by the highest goodness and truth. The heart center is where your will and decisions become proactive instead of reactive. And so you are no longer enslaved to constantly matching the turbulence around you, and you can ride the waves of life with a lot more distance, a lot more inner stillness. Anahata Chakra is connected with the element of air. And by this, I don't mean the physical air of oxygen, nitrogen, gases, but the fundamental vibrational building block known as air that is most closely connected with the moving directional current of prana. From prana, or vital life force, all things are animated, all things are made alive and intelligent. And from the movement and manifestation of prana, thoughts and consciousness of mind come to being and form too. The vibrational state of prana, the health and balance of prana, the correct movement of prana within you, all directly affects the state of your thinking and feeling mind. And because your heart center is the energetic vortex, most immediately influencing the charge of the air element within you, so it is also immediately influencing the flow of prana and the state of your mind. A more open, unclogged, and balanced heart center means a more open, seamless, and balanced flow of prana, and a more open, clear, and equanimous state of mind. And each one affects each other simultaneously. All of this, of course, points to the significance of pranayama practices of expanding, balancing, and controlling your own life force through the breath when it comes to purifying and harmonizing your heart center and unlocking the medicine that it holds, as well as the importance of strengthening your heart center directly through practicing heart-opening asanas, following the yamas and niyamas, moral codes of conduct, cultivating your heart's virtues through contemplation, service, and devotion, in order to influence pranic flow within you and sow the state of your consciousness and emotions. And so you see how they can all affect one another. The heart center is also associated with a sense of touch and the actions of the hands, both connected to the element of air, as you will know if you have studied Ayurveda with me. So something as simple as massaging your own body with your hands with soothing oils and a tender touch activates the self-awareness codes of your heart center. Or gardening, using your hands to touch and tend to nature, or the sculpting of clay or earth, or holding someone's hands with love, massaging a loved one, or touching the grass, earth. I'm sure you felt how this is all such immediate medicine for the heart. Another interesting aspect of the heart center is the endocrine gland that it sits closest to, the thymus. Understanding the function of the thymus gives clear information on another very important function of your heart center. So the thymus is a small gland in the upper part of your chest, sitting right between your lungs and behind your breastbone, a little in front of the heart center, a little in front of the heart, almost exactly at your heart center. And its main function is to teach these special white blood cells called T cells how to identify toxic substances and germs and then fight them off. So basically, it is in the thymus gland that these T cells mature into germ-fighting immune cells. It is in the thymus that they actually learn how to remember the bacteria and viruses they come into contact with, and then use that same information to attack any future germs they encounter in the bloodstream. And this is what your heart center is doing for you on an energetic and emotional level. It is the intelligence that trains your discernment. The heart center teaches you how to discern between true and false, aligned and misaligned, love and fear, as you move through life and all its trials. It is where you come to mature emotionally, where you learn how to identify limiting and false beliefs within yourself and within others. You learn how to discern the most powerful mind virus known as fear and protect your body and mind from their infections by willfully choosing truth, love, and aligned action. This is the highest technology of your immune system. I'm now going to briefly mention the way in which yogis visualize the heart chakra, as that will then lead me to the 12 main vrittis, that is, waves or streams of consciousness that reside within your heart center. These are the beliefs, virtues, and behaviors that your heart center is inviting you to embody or then transmute. So Anahata Chakra is visualized as a circle with 12 petals containing in it two opposite-facing interlocking triangles known as a shatkona, or a six-pointed star. So if you have one triangle facing upwards, symbolizing the masculine principle, or Shiva, and the other triangle facing downwards, symbolizing the female principle, or Shakti. These two triangles intersect symbolizing the union of masculine and feminine, active and inactive, form and formless, supreme consciousness, and Mother Earth, right at this heart center. And around this yantra, around this geometrical shape, is the circle with 12 lotus petals all around it. I've seen this whole image being represented in green, just like the thumbnail of this video, and sometimes with the area inside the circle as smoky gray and the petals in deep orange red. The seed mantra depicted inside of the chakra is yum, which means the seed sound yum has a direct resonance with the heart center and the air element of the heart center. And on repeated chanting of yum, 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 and you can extend that out longer, you attune to and interact with the intelligence of your heart center. Each petal of this image is connected with a sound vibration. I'm not going to share those sound vibrations here, but it is connected each with a sound vibration that is linked to one of the 12 different core qualities of the heart. These core qualities are bliss, peace, harmony, love, understanding, empathy, clarity, purity, unity, compassion, kindness, and forgiveness. Meaning that if you are desiring to rise in any of these qualities, a sense of inner peace, a deeper kindness towards yourself and others, a capacity to forgive and release resentment, a clarity of heart and mind, you must work with the technology of your heart center. You must spend time visualizing this 12-petaled yantra, chanting the seed sound yum, and contemplating deeply on what these qualities feel like when your heart center is open and active. You must return to asana practice that helps to open the heart center and daily codes of conduct that help you to align with the energy of your heart center. And I will specify more on this in a bit. Also associated with each petal is a vritti, or a wave of consciousness that can be seen as both negative or positive depending on the direction in which it is oriented. These vrittis remind us that the heart center is still a state of consciousness in which you have a bounded and limited sense of self, but with the potential now to really discern between transgressions and wisdom. This is a state of consciousness that isn't totally liberated. You have evolved out of the base thinking, arrogance, and greed of the lower 3 chakras. You now have the capacity to tap into a larger field of intelligence and truth, but you still are engaged in self-justifying tendencies that might perpetuate your ego's limited boundaries instead of expanding and refining them. This is why we have the higher chakras at the throat center or the back of the head, the upper palate of the mouth, the third eye, and the crown, so we can continue to rise in consciousness. Prana can continue to flow upwards, and our spiritual awareness can continue to expand. But this needs to be the intention even when you know you've arrived to the heart chakra. You will have to acknowledge that there are still certain limitations existing within this state of consciousness. We still have much work to do. The heart center is the vortex in which you really begin to touch your own divinity and can begin to live from a more content, benevolent, and humble space. But there is still so much spiritual ignorance that is desiring to be dissolved in the light of truth here in this space. I'm going to go through the first 6 of these 12 vrittis, and you will see yourself how each can be limiting or illuminating depending on how and where it is channeled. Or it might be that this is a characteristic that the heart center has the power to finally transmute into something more true and generative, and it's calling you into this work. Overall, what feels true in the case of all these 12 vrittis is that when you begin to live from the heart center, you start to become exceptionally cognizant of how these very specific ripples of energy, of consciousness manifest within you, how they might have blinded you or guided your decisions in the past, and how exactly they get to be released or upgraded in your life now. You have more immediate access to redirecting and mastering them in your life now. You see them for what they are, and you have the courage to renegotiate their expression in your life, even though it might be uncomfortable to do so. This is a major, major upgrade. And when worked with intentionally, these insights become non-negotiable keys for your mental and spiritual evolution. So here are 6 of the 12 vrittis of the heart center. The first is Asha, or hope. This is an exceptionally essential energy. Wishing, hoping for something to be made possible. Wishing and hoping deeply for a more liberated state of mind, for more equality and joy in the world. So here we see quite clearly that this vritti is made expansive or then constrictive depending on the direction or outcome towards which it is focused. To have hope of a better world and a better state of mind is essential for spiritual development. Accessing Asha from within the heart center and directing it towards something vibrant, loving, and expansive, this is crucial. And it's obvious that hope for the wrong thing or hope without action can support self-degeneration or a de-evolution of your mind, which would be an unwise way to use this vritti of the heart center. Touch the hope of your heart center and direct it towards the highest goodness possible. And when your hope is seated in a love for the divine, this becomes faith. And faith is a miracle frequency. So hope and how it is directed is what you get clear vision and agency on in your heart center. The second is chinta, or thoughtfulness, an excessiveness of which is worriness. Again, when oriented towards reflecting, analyzing, and imagining kindness, collective justice, and spiritual expansion, or how to offer yourself more effectively to your breath or to community service, for example, this is a positive force and quality. And I don't think I need to speak much on how it becomes a destructive force. Obviously, when your thinking is directed towards fears, future outcomes, illusions, egotism, shame, and judgment, then chinta becomes a very limiting and debilitating factor. So let your awareness be seated in your heart center, and from this space, witness where your thinking goes. Look clearly at where you are directing your mind and bring it back to the spaces and things that feel truly fruitful and energizing for you. This has been one of the most important points of focus for many of the clients that come to work with me. Working with the technology of the heart center so that you can zoom out, see reality as it is, and then direct your brilliant thinking minds to work for you as opposed to against you. The third vritti is cheshta, or effort. Your heart offers you the power of effort, the perseverance of effort, the patience of effort. It is that will within you that makes difficult things possible. It takes heart to pour into spiritual disciplines and truthfulness in a society that rewards you for aggressiveness and manipulation. It takes great heart to be true to yourself, really fully true to yourself, and to release the habit patterns that make you copycat the self-sabotaging behavior of your parents or peers. You need unending effort, relentless effort, directed towards the single pointed goal of emotional and spiritual development. And this is available for you here at the Heart Center. The fourth gift of the Heart Center is mamata, or a sense of mine, motherly love or tenderness. Mamata is that innate desire to nurture, to tend to, and to care for. It is a sense of ownership that makes you pour inwards in a desire to uplift and nourish yourself, as well as outwards for the people or things that matter to you. When your sense of I is expanded and your sense of mine encompasses all of humanity and all of Earth Mother, then this mamata becomes a universal love and a dear, dear feeling of responsibility towards the whole. But when your sense of I is teeny tiny, only including your limited body and ego, and maybe a few others in your family or your circle, your care is very contained, very selfish. Also, you need to be careful of when affection turns into attachment and when care turns into control. So you could have a sense of mine with your child, but it could be totally controlling and suffocating, which does more damage than good to the subject of your care. So tune into your heart to help you see how big or small your sense of mine has been, and make a clear intention to expand the scope and capacity for your tenderness. The fifth is dhamba, or pride. False pride, really. This feels positive only as much as it brings you to directing energy and effort to developing certain areas of your life that might be celebrated by people around you. And maybe this kicks you out of some prior inaction towards action. But considering society as we know it today, where hedonism, extraction, and excess is celebrated, this feels more like a vritti that gets to be transmuted into humility. But it takes great bravery to really look at how pervasive arrogance and vanity is within your life, how substanceless it is, and how it is born from an excessive identification with your ego. The heart center is where you can finally begin to see your own false pride for what it is and see all the areas of your life that it has been controlling. When you witness, accept, and embrace it without judgment, you can then transmute this excessive identification with your ego to an identification with a divine luminosity and consciousness beyond the ego, moving your false pride towards humility, service, and generosity. The sixth vritti is viveka, or discrimination. And this feels like one of the most important powers of the heart center, as came through when I was speaking of the thymus glands that it's most closely associated with. Discrimination is your ability to see through the noise, to clear out the excess in your mind, and to see reality as it is. It is vision, and it is a will towards listening to this vision. So the heart center helps you to cultivate discrimination. And when you direct this discrimination towards actualizing your highest potential and gifts, growing in your connection with the divine, and serving the collective with courage and creativity, then this is an exceptionally helpful gift. If this discrimination is used instead to manipulate or exploit others, or to rise in your own self-serving goals at the detriment of others, then it will turn into a degenerative tool. Living from an open heart center shows you how you might have been faulty with your discrimination in the past, and how logic isn't always the answer. It shows you the limitations of reason, of your reason. Discrimination is a deeper wisdom and voice of the heart center. It offers you loving insight into your own mistakes and the thinking that produced them, and offers you ways of redeeming yourself through right action now and in the future. So I invite you to choose one or two of these vrittis to contemplate on and raise up in your life in a positive way. Set an intention. Maybe you choose to develop your discrimination and active hope. Then commit to this attunement and interactivity with your heart center every single day with this in mind. Before I get into some practical ways of working with your heart center, I'll quickly mention the animal associated with the heart center, which is the antelope. These are light-footed animals, constantly watching, moving, leaping, nimble and quick. And this is the quality of your heart center, as it deftly scans the horizons of your life, takes in a lot of information in one go, makes quick decisions based on what it sees, and leaps boldly into the unknown. There is a lightness and quickness to the intelligence of this chakra, and a huge part of working with the technology of your heart center is to actually just trust it, even if it doesn't yet make sense to your reasoning mind. Tune in, trust, and follow through. So when it comes to working intentionally with the heart center, the first bit is to actually know about its vast intelligence. The function of your heart center is to teach you how to love, not based on logic or the limiting ideas of the ego, but rather on an intuitive discerning between the highest good and false in all things, in your mind, in your habit patterns, in your food choices, for example, and willfully choosing the highest good. It holds in it your capacity for inner union, meaning the union between your masculine and feminine energetics, so that you can live a deeply balanced life with a balanced state of mind. It also holds in it your capacity to connect to a greater fabric of life and God and union, enabling more big-heartedness, humility, and kindness in all your thoughts and actions. The heart center is closely connected with prana, your vital life force, and thus the state of your mind. When your consciousness is settled at your heart center, and your heart center is open and active, your thoughts are automatically more secure, kind, and present. As per the virtues it connects you with, I mentioned the 12, like understanding, forgiveness, bliss, and peace, as well as 6 of the 12 vrittis or streams of consciousness that you can direct wisely or then upgrade. When you are working with the technology of your heart center and living from the space of your heart center, here are some of the things that become real for you. Your immune system works more efficiently and easily. You no longer abandon your inner knowing to fulfill what others desire of you. You no longer believe your reasoning mind to be the greatest guide in your life. You do not waste time on thoughts that drain you, and so you are calmer and kinder in all ways. You feel profound compassion for other humans and non-humans, and this is clearly felt and visible in your energy, actions, and thoughts. You are always available to learn about your own blind spots and evolve into more authentic versions of yourself. You do not try to fix or control yourself or others around you. You don't endlessly second-guess your intuition or get stuck in quagmires of self-doubt. You know what the next steps in life are because you channel information directly from a wider knowing. You don't drown in the overwhelm of the world and take aligned action from a place of inner clarity. You call in relationships that mirror the overflow and generosity of your love. You speak the truth. You choose humility, and you stay brave. And what simple practices or contemplations can get you here? The first is learning about the yamas and niyamas, or ethical codes of conduct in yoga, and committing yourself to upholding those in your life. The most essential and important one is truth-telling. If the heart center connects you to ultimate truth, then obviously the more lies you tell yourself or you tell others, the further away from the heart center you are. If you want to dive a bit deeper on this, please check out my earlier video on Brahmacharya, the third pillar of Ayurvedic health. Then, pranayam. Basic pranayam is a perfect place to start. Again, since the heart center is connected with the element of air, anything you do to regulate the air element within you whether it is Ayurvedic protocols to balance Vata or pranayama practices to expand and regulate prana. This is all directly helping to unlock and unblock the gifts of the heart center. The video right before this one is a guided pranayama practice, and I recommend you start there. Now, asana. Any yoga asana that includes twisting, folding, or backbending is super supportive to opening your heart center. Basic Surya Namaskar A and B, forward folds, Paschimottanasana, supine twists and backbends, and really breathing into the space of the chest, the back of the chest, the front of the chest, the heart as you do these. Maintaining an inner focus on the heart center, feeling a 12-petaled lotus at the center blossom and receive your breath fully. Really, the emphasis here is as much on the movement as it is on your inner focus, channeled breath and attention. It dictates where your vital energy flows. The next is chanting Yam. As I mentioned before, this is the seed sound of your heart chakra, of your heart center. But even chanting Om helps to move all individualistic and animalistic energy upwards towards supreme consciousness, and holds in it these codes of union and primordial truth. So chanting Yam, Om 10 times daily, again with the focus on a blossoming heart center. This is very powerful. The practice I'm going to mention now is non-negotiable, and that is any kind of practice that brings you to an inner quietness and attitude of acceptance. Breath awareness or prana nigraha for even just 2 to 5 minutes daily, it's a really good place to start. Noticing the subtle qualities of your inhale and exhale. Noticing, pulling your awareness back to your breath every time it starts to run away, and noticing without any sort of judgment or rush. Just noticing and accepting its reality as it is. Accepting what arises from within your inner world during this practice, completely and calmly. Sitting quiet and still. This completely repatterns the subconscious mind to feel safe in quiet and inner listening, and tunes your perception inwards into your heart center. And if you can take this a step further, as you are sitting in this quiet space, sharpening the focus of your mind, you can then begin to shift your awareness down to your heart center and just listen in, first to its physical beating, physical pulse, but soon more subtleties and information will be revealed to you. So stay there, return day in and day out. Another powerful way to tune into the technology of your heart center is through karma yoga. Quite simply, acts of service. Any way in which you can make yourself useful to your community out of complete selflessness. Give your time, energy, or money to uplifting someone or something other than your ego. Volunteer. This is important. And involve yourself fully in this selfless service. Be completely immersed in the work. Do it from your heart, really, and not from some mechanical obligation space. The last two practices that I will mention for you that help you to activate the medicine and technology of your heart center, of Anahata Chakra, so that you can live a deeply fulfilling and healthful life, are contemplation and satsang. A contemplative stance is poised and rooted. To be contemplative, you have to allow time and space between you and your business as usual. You allow your gaze to rest on the subject of your contemplation. Let's say it's any one of the heart center's gifts that you desire to develop. With some distancing between you and the delusions of mass culture and your false self, contemplation builds on the hard bottom of reality as it is, without ideology, denial, or fantasy. You receive the present moment in a very different way. You let the essence of the heart center's gifts wash over you, allowing their subtle truths to reveal themselves to you. And you keep doing this until you feel a kind of revelation or completion with it. See your thought patterns changed. See your reactions to triggers changed within the very same environments and circumstances through your contemplation. A way to practically begin is to get so curious about the thing you're contemplating on. So, for example, if you choose to contemplate on forgiveness, you get intimate with the energy of forgiveness. What does the energy of forgiveness feel like in your body? What does it look like? Stay with it. Feel as if though it lived alongside you or within you. You can ask yourself, what if I were to gaze through the eyes of forgiveness today? How would I move? What are the exact moments in which I feel resistance? With whom do I feel this resistance? What thoughts or beliefs arise in these moments and block my loyalty to forgiveness? Where in my body do I feel it? What does my breath and heart feel like in the moments of this resistance? What would softening into forgiveness, just that tiny bit more, feel like right now? These are examples of questions that could guide your contemplation. And then read spiritual stories on forgiveness. Read about saints and mystics that were deeply connected to the heart center as the seat of God and embodied forgiveness. And do this every single day. Do this with each of the gifts and each of the vrittis, and you will be amazed at how the universe sends you the perfect instructions and opportunities to test and embody these qualities in your life. I see this all the time in my own life, in my clients' life, from week to week. It's unbelievable. And finally, we have satsang, being in the company of truth. Spending time with community and guides who are devoted to heart-centered practices, with whom you can talk about the deeper spiritual struggles you are having and whom you trust deeply to see into your heart and reflect those truths back to you. This is a big part of what my Embodied Ayurveda partnership is about, offering my clients a space to reveal what is moving deep within their inner worlds and invite them into a heart-centered frequency as they do so. The intentions, courage, commitment, and path that is revealed in this way is of exceptional power, exceptional medicine. It reminds me of a similar Celtic concept called anamkara. I'll quote from John O'Donoghue. In the early Celtic church, a person who acted as a teacher, soul friend, or spiritual guide was called an anamkara. It originally referred to someone to whom you reveal the hidden intimacies of your life. With the anamkara, you could share your innermost self, your mind, and your heart. This friendship was an act of recognition and belonging. When you had an anamkara, your friendship cut across all convention, morality, and category. You were joined in an ancient and eternal way with the friend of your soul. End quote. And it is this deep and special companionship that helps to unlock hardened and closed parts of your heart, as well as to awaken a full-bodied feeling of thanks, acceptance, and love, the unique gifts of your heart center. Again, I have really truly experienced this firsthand with my long-term clients. So here are some of the core non-negotiable ways in which you can work with the technology of your heart center. I didn't get into bhakti yoga here, the yoga of devotion, nor did I get into any specific tantric practices that engage the Anahata Chakra. I feel like they are a bit advanced and would require their own video. I also know that Celtic, Gnostic, Christian, mystic, and Sufi traditions have their own prayers, rituals, and meditations that work directly with the heart center. The practices I have chosen to share today are ones that I myself have worked with for years now, and know from personal embodiment and multiple client results that these are foolproof in their effectiveness. I also know that you can get started off with these straight away, regardless of who you are and where you have arrived from. I'll close by saying this though, that most importantly, your heart center requires your attentiveness and interactiveness. Pay attention. As John O'Donohue says, open quote, we must remain attentive in order to be able to receive. When a great moment knocks on the door of your life, it is often no longer than the beating of your heart, and it is very easy to miss it, end quote. So learn how to listen inwards and trust, my friend. This is where we start, and this is where we end. I am Niv Rajendra, and this is the Embodied Ayurveda Podcast. Here you receive all things health and longevity from a yogic, Ayurvedic, and tantric spiritual lens. I hope this feels illuminating for you. And if you have any requests at all for future topics that you would like me to explore, or any questions or reflections at all, please do drop them in the comments below. Thank you so much. A bow down to the power of your heart center. And until next time, goodbye.